Imagine this: a cold, dark alley. The distant hum of the city fades into silence. A man, bruised and trembling, is cornered by three shadowy figures. They close in, their intentions unmistakable. Suddenly, a roar pierces the tension. A motorcycle emerges from the darkness. The rider steps off, his silhouette backlit by the moonlight. He speaks calmly, his words sharp enough to cut through the menace in the air. Who is this mysterious savior? And what follows next will leave you speechless. But before we dive deeper into this gripping story, do you enjoy tales of kindness, suspense, and humanity? If so, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on the notification bell. On this channel, we bring you stories that warm your heart and leave you inspired. Now, let's uncover the mystery of the man who turned despair into hope. The story truly begins on an ordinary winter evening in downtown Los Angeles. The city was alive as always. Bright lights, relentless traffic, and the hum of a metropolis that never sleeps. But inside a modest 24-hour diner tucked into a quiet street, Emily found herself stuck in a monotonous cycle, wiping down tables and serving coffee to people who barely acknowledged her existence. Emily was in her mid-20s, a dreamer trapped in reality. Her walls at home were covered in sketches, each one a reflection of her passion for art. But her reality was grim. Mounting bills, a broken-down car, and the relentless pressure of survival had crushed her spirit. Every day she told herself she'd save up enough to leave this job and chase her dream of becoming an artist, but every paycheck disappeared before she could even think of buying a canvas. The stranger's arrival. On this particular night, as Emily cleaned the counter, she noticed a man enter the diner. He looked out of place. His clothes were ragged, his shoes falling apart, and his face weary from a life that had clearly not been kind to him. The man hesitated before sitting at a corner booth, his eyes darting nervously around the room. When Emily approached to take his order, he stammered, Just a coffee, please." He reached into his pocket, pulling out a handful of coins and counting them with trembling fingers. He didn't have enough. Emily felt a pang of compassion. She smiled gently and said, "Don't worry about it. This one's on the house." She walked away before he could protest, returning moments later with a steaming cup of coffee. The man's eyes glistened with gratitude. "Thank you," he murmured, cradling the cup as though it was a lifeline. Emily didn't know it yet, but her small act of kindness had just set a powerful story in motion. The encounter outside. Suspense builds. Hours later, Emily's shift ended. She bundled up in her coat and stepped out into the cold night, her breath visible in the air. As she walked towards the bus stop, she noticed something unsettling. In the alley adjacent to the diner, the same man she had served earlier was cornered by three men. Their voices were low, threatening, but Emily caught snippets of their words. They were demanding money the man clearly didn't have. Emily's heart raced. She wanted to help but felt paralyzed by fear. What could she possibly do against three grown men? And then, like a scene out of a movie, the roar of a motorcycle shattered the tension. A sleek black bike pulled up at the mouth of the alley, its rider dismounting with an aura of quiet authority. The figure was tall, dressed in black from head to toe, with a helmet obscuring his face. Slowly, he removed the helmet, revealing none other than Keanu Reeves. Keanu's intervention. Keanu approached the group with calm confidence. "What's going on here?" he asked, his voice steady but edged with steel. One of the men sneered, "None of your business, man! Walk away!" But Keanu didn't flinch. "I don't think he owes you anything," he said, gesturing towards the frightened man. "Why don't you leave before things get messy?" The thugs hesitated. Keanu's reputation as an action star preceded him, but it was his unwavering composure that unsettled them. Sensing they were outmatched, they muttered curses and walked away, disappearing into the night. Emily, who had witnessed the entire scene from a distance, couldn't believe her eyes. She knew who Keanu Reeves was. Everyone did. But seeing him step into the shadows to help a stranger was something entirely different. She felt a mix of awe and curiosity. The next day at the diner, she couldn't shake the image of Keanu from her mind. Who would risk their safety to stand up for a stranger like that? And why? These questions lingered as Emily carried on with her shift. While Keanu's public image was that of a humble celebrity, those close to him knew of his deeper philosophy. Life had not been easy for him. He had faced personal tragedies, including losing loved ones and enduring years of loneliness. These experiences shaped his belief in helping others, especially those society overlooked. For Keanu, it wasn't about grand gestures. It was about the ripple effect. A small act of kindness could inspire others to do the same, creating waves of change. That evening, Emily decided to stay late at the diner. Part of her hoped to catch another glimpse of Keanu, but she also wanted to see if the man he had helped would return. Hours passed, and just as she was about to give up, the doorbell jingled. The same man walked in, but this time he looked different. His clothes were clean, his posture more confident, and his eyes held a spark of hope. "Thank you," he said, approaching Emily. "For what?" she asked, genuinely confused. "For the coffee, for being kind when no one else was. That night, it saved me." Emily smiled, her heart swelling with warmth. "I just did what anyone would do." The man shook his head. "Not everyone would. And because of you, I met someone who changed my life." As the man left, Emily felt a newfound sense of purpose. She realized that small acts of kindness could have far-reaching consequences. Inspired by this revelation, she decided to start saving again, not just for her art supplies, but to help others in small ways, just as Keanu had done. Meanwhile, Keanu continued his quiet mission of kindness. In the weeks that followed, he made anonymous donations to the shelter, ensuring they had enough resources to support more people. He also returned to the diner once, this time as a customer. Keanu and Emily meet. When Keanu walked into the diner, Emily was stunned. She struggled to find her words as she approached his table. "Coffee?" she stammered, her cheeks flushing red. Keanu looked up with a warm smile. "Yes, please. Black." As she poured his coffee, she couldn't contain her curiosity. "Why did you help that man?" Keanu's gaze softened. "Because I could," he said simply. "And because no one else did." His humility struck a chord with Emily. Over the next hour, they talked. Emily shared her struggles and her dreams of becoming an artist, and Keanu listened intently, offering words of encouragement. Before leaving, Keanu left a generous tip, enough to cover a month's worth of art supplies. Months passed, and Emily's life began to change. With the tip Keanu had left, she created a small portfolio and applied to art schools. To her surprise, she received an acceptance letter from a prestigious institution, but there was more. Along with the acceptance letter came a note from an anonymous donor, covering her tuition fees in full. The note read, "Dreams are meant to be chased. Keep creating." Emily immediately thought of Keanu, but when she tried to thank him, he humbly denied being involved. "I just bought a coffee," he said with a wink, leaving her more inspired than ever. The ripple effect. Inspired by Keanu's actions, Emily began volunteering at the same shelter where he had taken the homeless man. She used her art skills to teach classes for children there, bringing light into their lives. The homeless man, now employed and stable, became an advocate for the shelter, helping others find jobs and rebuild their lives. And Keanu? He continued his journey of silent heroism, proving that true kindness doesn't need an audience. Years later, Emily's artwork was displayed in a gallery, and among the visitors was a familiar face. Keanu stood quietly, admiring her paintings. When Emily spotted him, she couldn't help but tear up. "You made this possible," she said. Keanu shook his head. "You did. I just gave you a little push." Final message. In a world that often feels chaotic and divided, stories like this remind us of the power of kindness. Whether it's a free cup of coffee, a helping hand, or a word of encouragement, every act of compassion creates ripples that can transform lives. So the next time you have a chance to help someone, no matter how small the gesture, remember, you might be the start of someone else's story.